Well, the chair mentioned several criteria that she felt were important, such as time availability, the attendance of meetings, the willingness to learn, research. Ms. Maney has not only said that she is willing to do those things, she has proven that she will do those things by being at these meetings, by researching things that have come before the board, by being prepared to discuss them, and sometimes even taking a position that may not have been the most popular with board members. And I think this board needs somebody who's willing to stand up, take those tough positions, because it develops discussion so that groupthink doesn't set in, so that unintended consequences don't happen, because you get a full perspective of what's happening if you have those voices that don't just automatically.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a first and a second, all in favor.
Excuse me, you have a second for discussion purposes only.
I'm sorry,
I thought a second was for discussion.
Well, a second,
Yeah.
the second is still deserves a vote.
Yeah.
A
Well, I
second,
don't know. That's why I thought he said for discussion only.
well, a second provides the opportunity for discussion and then a vote.
But then I can always say yes or no.
Well, I really,
You were not required to.
I can only tell you what I think.
okay, we'll take a vote, all in favor.
Aye.
Anybody else? Another motion.
What was the hand count for the vote? I didn't get it. What was the vote?
What was your vote?
Nay.
So
Probably should.
3.
Roll call. Yes, thank you.
I'll make a note. Thank Dale Gerke to town board supervisor for the remaining year ending April 15th, 2024. I have a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'll start with a discussion, kind of like what you said, somebody who's always available, somebody who has proven his dedication, his availability, someone who's willing to stand up, not always go with the flow, not wrong.
First, they're all great candidates that put in. Looking through them, you can say positives for everyone. The one positive that Dale had over anybody else was he was involved with the 2035 plan, and now it's going to be 2050 plan, which would give us a heads up rather than starting from scratch, because I don't know anything about that. That's the only
If
thing
we
that-
need that expertise.
So that's.
Right.
Otherwise, I could be swayed at just about, like I said, it was,
Yeah.
but she'd be a great choice too. I understand.
And really, we had a lot of really lot of things to think about. We had a lot of great people come out. We really appreciate it.
And some good ideas.
A lot of people that can, do a lot of good for the town, and I really appreciate everybody coming out. We really needed to pick someone, something for me too, though. We had a planning commission meeting last week after the interviews, and I saw Mr. Gorky there and Tom. So, these are things that it's not required, but as a town board member, I have tried to attend every planning commission meeting as well, just so I'm aware of what's going on. And just to educate myself of where we are before we vote on things as a town. So we have a first and a second. I'm gonna take a vote, all in favor,
Do it by roll call, I would say.
roll call, okay. Supervisor Yoder?
No.
Yes.
Yes,
No.
so we have 2-2. So sorry, Tina, I look to you.
It's flashback from last year.
I know, I know. And yes, all the candidates, and I do believe that Tanya would make a very good board member, but in light of everything that I know, having my experience of 26 years, I'm gonna have to, yes, for Dale.
Okay. So,
Call for a vote, or all in favor, or
motion carried. Supervisor Gerke, would you like to come forward, please?
Supervisor when he's sworn in.
Okay, Mr. Gerke.
Dale Burkey, having been elected or appointed to the office of town supervisor, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Instead of,
chair?
I mean, a set of papers.
Oh, no. No, we'll have to wait. Yeah.
We have planning.
The planning, under appointments.
Oh,
Yeah, so just so nobody's confused, we appoint the planning commission during all the rest of the appointments during the town board meeting, which is yet to come.
well, then I'll make a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
Okay, and second. All right, motion carried, motion meeting adjourned. Aye.
Mike,
Okay.
we have to adjourn board review to a later date. And it was scheduled for 5:45 or 5:25. You gotta wait till 5:25, correct? Just wanted to make sure.
So I have a 15-minute break. Yeah.
No.
Calling to order this meeting, the board review on Monday, May 8th, 2023 at 5:25 p.m. Purpose of this meeting is to adjourn the board of review until a later date due to the fact that the assessment role is not completed at this time. It is anticipated pursuant to section 70.45 Wisconsin statutes. The assessment roll for the year 2024 will be open for examination from June 12th through 16th from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and June 19th from 4 to 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's actually June 12th through the 15th from 9 to 3:30, the 16th, 9 to noon. And
Oh, yeah, the assessor will be present June 19th from 4 to 6 p.m. Instructional material about the assessment and board of review procedures will be available at that time. For information on how to file an objection and board of review procedure under Wisconsin law. May I have a motion to adjourn the board of review meeting to June 26, 10 to 12 a.m.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
And the information is on our website still too.
June 26, 10 to 12 a.m. Okay, so I have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 5:27. We have 3 minutes.
You get a lot done in 3 minutes. So we just say you're raising fees, that we,
3 at 5. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I need a motion for approval of town board minutes dated April 10th, 2023, and special meeting minutes dated April 17th and April 26th, 2023 as printed.
Also move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Treasury report?
General tax checking $75,710.95. Operating money market $1,585,988.27. Reserve funds $1,464,828.43. And undesignated ARPA recovery funds $187,268.90. Yes, but
I need a motion to pay claims.
Also move to pay the claims, but I also like to add on there, or the invoice they'll be getting on Thursday for the generator for DPW for $12,654.79, which will be coming out of the ARPA funds.
Wait a second.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, correspondence, I just want to start, we did receive one thank you card for the police department. It's a little difficult to read the writing, so I'm just gonna say it was from Mr. Arnold Cross. He wanted to thank the police department for their work. He was very appreciative. In his 76 of years of life, he never needed to call for help. When he finally did, you guys were there. We also have, I'm gonna just hand it over to Representative Whitkey, who's here, to tell us a little bit about shared revenue. So thank you for coming tonight, sir.
Thank you. Making my rounds with all the boards, the assembly just released their version of what we believe shared revenue should be. So I thought you probably want to hear it from me instead of reading through all the language in the statute. So roughly, we're going to do what we had anticipated originally. Shared revenue will be based on 1% of the sales tax going forward. Okay, so how it'll be split out is that there's a $1 billion that will be the existing 800 based on the formula that exists currently, and another probably about 200 million that is added on for full repeal of personal property tax, which is included in the bill. There will be about 227 million in new funding, and that breaks down with about 83 million for communities under 5,000, about 47 million for communities between 5 and 30,000, about 47 million for communities over 30,000, and another 50 million for the counties. So every local government will see at least a 10% minimum increase. And so if you want to know what yours is, you got 71,500 in shared revenue previously. You'll get an additional 174,400 to bring it to about 245.9. That's under this plan currently. There's also 300 billion in there that creates what they call an innovation fund. It's a 3-year pilot program where if you combine services. There's a number of different things in it. Show at least 10% savings. The state will fund 25% of that for a 3-year period. There are probably more that'll come out on that. There are a number of provisions that, of course, are focused on public safety because also we're increasing the EMS providers funding assistance program. I saw 15 million. The bill says 25. I'll say somewhere between 15 and 25 million. So that almost triples or quadruples the assistance that we're giving to EMS. Doubling reimbursement for local law enforcement training from 160 to 320. So hopefully that should help. And then there's a maintenance of efforts so that no one can reduce their service level of fire, police and EMS. That's contained in there. I'm gonna skip over all of the verbiage in there. That's for the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County. But if you want to know what's actually happening, both of those two governmental units are going to be converting their pensions over to the Wisconsin pension fund because of the dire situation they're in. If we don't do something with them, it'll bankrupt both the city and county, and we obviously can't allow that. So there are some provisions in here that take care of that. It's going to come mainly from the sales tax piece that is going to be applied only to that pension funding and to their law enforcement provisions. Then as I said, there's a full repeal of personal property tax. It will require local units of government spending reports for increased transparency. Now, what that means, I'm not sure, but I'm sure we'll find out. Renames Police and Fire Protection Fund, the 9/11 fund. There's additional flexibility for quarries to help reduce transportation costs. Requires high schools to collect some statistics on certain crime incidents. Prohibits local advisory referendum and prohibits local health officials from mandating business closures longer than 14 days without approval of the local board. So there's a lot of things that are in there. This is the assembly version. Negotiations are still going on with the Senate. This will probably come to the floor probably the 17th of May, and it'll get voted out of our House. Discussions with the Senate and governor continue. So we believe we're fairly close with the Senate. The numbers should be about where they're at right now. And then whether the governor will sign it or not, that'll remain to be seen, but it'll be made part of the budget bill that we have. So that was one. The other thing I wanted to make comment on is I'm glad to hear that you're going to try to work things out with the village of Waterford. I was at the annexation meeting, public meeting, and I did go away from that with a very good feeling about the relationship between the village and the residents of the town, which I represent. So I've had discussion with the League of Municipalities to discuss some of the things that I visualized there. And we are looking at some of the annexation laws and some of the provisions in that based on the process that I saw go forward. Whether we'll do some legislation or not. I was supposed to have a meeting with the village president, the village administrator, but evidently the village president had some kind of illness or whatever. They canceled. So hopefully that'll get. And if they do come up and see me, I'll have the League of Municipality and the Towns Association. Towns Association does have some legislation for me to consider. And one of the reasons that I'm taking a more proactive stance in this is because I sat down with Towns Association, the League of Municipalities, and the County Association last session, and we passed some bills that were designed to ease relationships between villages, towns, and other larger municipalities. What I'm seeing here is, let's just say, could be a lot better. Are there any questions? I can take those.
Hey, can you repeat the shared revenue figures from 71,000 to what's it called?
Yeah, it was 71,500. There will be, under this bill, there would be an additional 174,400 to bring it to about 245, somewhere in that range.
That'd be very helpful.
Yeah. I just want to tell you, appreciate, because I talked with you many times, all the things that you're doing to help us out as a municipality, and you're very involved, and I appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you. That's what we get elected for, but I have an affinity for the towns, town of Norway. I've represented them for my first 2 sessions, and so got a good relationship with them. They usually take care of the village of Raymond and Caledonia as well, so it's one of the most important things. Plus, I always enjoy coming to local meetings because it gives me a chance just to sit back and watch local government work instead of some of the things we deal with. Thank you.
I have a question.
Question?
The provision regarding combination of services, does that include services that have already been joined? Or ones that are joined after enactment?
So that, I'll just say that has been as far as I know right now, it's being designed for services going forward. But we've gotten a lot of feedback from municipalities that we represent that have done a good job with holding expenses in line. And they would like to know if there's some leeway. Since it's not final yet, I'm not sure how that might be done. I've also got an issue with with the Wind Lake Fire Department and the Village of Raymond. They're all volunteer, and so there's startup cost that goes with that, and there's not a provision in there to take care of that. I've voiced that several times, and so there are a lot of us, my colleagues that represent rural areas, where we really maybe need to address some of that in a little bit different format. But this is where the marker sits, so I'll take the feedback back and see what we come up with. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up for correspondence, we're following up on Mayor Jeannie Hefty's correspondence from last month regarding liquor licenses. Reminder that this is just something she wants her support on, so she can go to Robert Boss. If it does pass, we still have the ability to say yes or no. If we want to share that liquor license, am I correct, Mr. Dubus?
Right, I talked to the city of Burlington last Friday, and I asked her the one question: why should the town go along with this? And the answer was, we get the money, which makes a lot of sense. In other words, it's a minimum of $10,000. I think the last one they had was 12.5 that they were willing to pay. The way the law presently reads, it's limited. The recovery of a license is limited to a 2-mile radius distance. By the legislation that Senator Voss is talking about, would be anybody in the county, any municipality in the county would have the ability to say, if you got extra liquor licenses here, which we do, and we weren't intending to fill one out, we could wind up with 13.5 or 12.5, whatever the number is. We're under no obligation. All she's asking for is support at this time. That's all she's asking for. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah, so basically, we're just supporting her and going and asking for that. So do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion that we support it. I know she talked at the head of government's meeting last month about it too, so.
I'll second.
Okay, first and a second, any discussion?
Is there a provision for getting that license back?
Getting it back, I doubt it.
When you get it back.
I think also your motion should, if you read Senator the letter, it should be conditional upon the representation to me or to whoever, that the municipality that's giving up the money, giving up the license would get the funds. So I think your approval should be
Right.
conditioned on that.
Yeah.
And that the municipality giving up the license has the veto authority to maintain that license. Should they
Because you don't
choose.
have to do it. You're not under any obligation.
Right, we're under no obligation. Yeah.
There's no law yet, so they.
Yeah, we're
they
just
can change
supporting
the
her
wording.
so she can.
Yes,
move
I
on with
can.
it. Yep. So we have a first and a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Committee reports? Please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. The report for Waterford Police Department for April, we got a signed total of 184 calls for service, 174 crime preventions, and 38 building checks, 97 traffic citations, 4 to 6 warnings, 2 misdemeanor arrests, 3 ordinance violations, 5 OWI arrests. There are also 7 vehicle crash reports and 1 domestic abuse arrest. A few notables at the Great East Rig Hunt, the buoys are in. We had a $2,500 donation check from Bobber's Tavern to help fund an unfunded project, which is the locker room project here for the police officers. So we will be posting that as well. And in the essence of time, I'd like to come up here. There's some gentlemen here that have donated a fire suppression tool. I put this out there. Gentlemen, if you could step up for a second, just give a few minutes, come up to the podium, please.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of Wisconsin Freemasonry, thank you for having us here. I'm Grant Walden, master of Lake Lodge, number 189 Wall. As a resident of Waterford, I chose Waterford Police Department to receive our donation this year. I believe you got papers. You got some details on there, but if you guys have any questions or more information, I'm gonna call Brother Jeff Keeley up here. A little more information.
Thank you very much and good evening. Just a real quick history of this. This particular tool is designed to literally pull the pin and throw it into a fire. We've been donating, Wisconsin Freemasonry has given out over 325 of them in about the last year and a half to first responders, whether it be police department, fire department, or other EMS. 12 of our Masonic units have been used in the last year and a half, saving lives and property. So we're very happy to give this unit to Waterford. Literally, it's pull the pin, throw it in. It does not take the place of the fire department. We usually get a big thing about that. But as a retired police officer from Milwaukee, I know that we're getting to fires a lot sooner than the fire departments can. So for us to give it to law enforcement who's out on the street all the time, they can pull a pin, throw it in, reduce that fire, and let the fire department come and finish their job. And it saves lives and properties. It does not remove the oxygen from the air. It chemically breaks the fire down in a different way. So it's safe for people who are inside, safe for pets. I know it's a big one too. So I just want to give you a little quick thing about it so that you know what the town of Waterford is getting. And we're very glad that you're allowing us to donate to them because it is an important tool. And I am not a representative of the company, but I would recommend that the town look into some of these for maybe other squads or maybe even on a fire rig. The company that created it is in the Netherlands, but the company that has the sole United States license is in Slinger, so it's local-ish, right? So if anybody at all has any questions, I'd be more than happy to.
Could you possibly show that audience so we can see it too, please?
It only weighs 11 pounds, comes in this nice case, so it doesn't get banged around too much in the back of the squad or anything like that. So,
That's great.
does anybody have any questions?
Fire department, any questions?
Everybody we have something similar, if not that exact thing, so yeah, definitely useful.
But what the fire bombs or fire grenades have been around for a long time. The difference, like I said, with this one is it doesn't remove the oxygen from the air, which is something that the much older units from other companies does. So it's win-win for everybody.
Well, I would like to tell you, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. I would like to thank you from town of Waterford. Anybody else would like to say anything or any questions?
I'm just wondering, what is the mist or the powdered aerosol that's released? What is the chemical?
So it's a potassium-based product. I can't get into the exact chemical specifics of it because again, I'm a retired cop, not a scientist. But it is a potassium-based aerosol. Once it ignites and it disperses into the air, it usually takes about 8 seconds after you pull the pin, throw it in, and 8 seconds later it's dispersing this. It'll fill up volumetrically 5,300 cubic feet. So it'll be good for standard size normal house. And then afterwards, after everything is all done and after the fire department comes and takes care of their business, you can simply vacuum it up.
And if that home is occupied with people or pets, you said it's safe?
Yep.
So you open the door and say incoming and toss it in?
Basically, yes, sir, you are correct. Either that or throw it through a window. So it really is that simple.
Does it reduce visibility for people trying to get out?
Not that I know of. No, I mean, it does, again, it's a chemical, so it's gonna come out into the air and it disperses in that way, but it's gonna float. So if you get down on your hands and knees and crawl to the exit like you're supposed to during a fire, you probably wouldn't have that problem.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh, the other thing I want, yes, Grant brought up a good point. If for some reason that the Waterford Police Department does use this, they can contact us again or go right through the company. Most homeowners insurance policies have a provision in there for using some kind of fire suppression tool, whether it's a extinguisher or not. Fire Suppression Solutions, a company that is the licensee, they work with insurance companies to get those units reimbursed. So it is a one-time use device. So if somebody from the police department throws it in, we've been very good about getting, or FSS has been very good about getting it replaced, or at least something back so that it doesn't eat up a small town budget.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't hold the pen.
If you want your meeting to end real quick, I would throw it in. Thank you.
Is it Chief Johnson or Ed Wilson? You want to continue the police committee report?
So I brought up in the past, a past meeting about clarification on Balloon Fest funding. And we never really received an answer. So I guess that I'm asking that that topic be discussed by the board. And I have some numbers from last year's event that was held in the village. The village, because it was the first year coming back, they paid for 5 officers, and the town paid for 1. So the village's expense, and then as an explanation for the 1 officer, when they originally started Balloon Fest, it was really stretched out, needed a lot more people, personnel. The town at that point, again, donated time for 1 officer of a 3-day event. Last year was a 1-day event, more restricted. We still donated the time for 1 as part of the community involvement. So the village's expense for 5 officers, a total of 42.5 hours for the 1 day, was $2,400 and change. If we go by those same numbers of using 5 officers, 42.5 hours, that's hoping that the village will now kick in 1. I don't know, an officer. It's something we can approach them on. It would be $2,600 and change. That's again, the 5 or 6 officers is the minimum, I believe, that we can safely run the event or assist in the event. The main issue is going to be, in my opinion, is going to be traffic on 164. We've had discussions about the exit point is going to be Melody Lane. And it's not unlighted area. So today we talked about contacting Ron's to see if they'll run service and if they'll keep their canopy lights on, which lights up that whole area pretty good for our safety. But anyway, that's just the numbers on approximate numbers of costs, dollar amount. So it's up to you.
Okay, and with that, I'd like to first, because we have other things to talk about that have to do with that. So if I could have someone make a motion, please, to dispose of the agenda as printed to move item C from the new business up to the police committee reports. You can handle all this at the same time.
I'll make a motion to move item C of new business up to the present.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we have costs involved and we have with the police, and we also need to talk about fire. We also need to talk about TPW. So this is kind of one big full ball of wax. I know you talked about the village had donated officers in the past. And I do see that we have a permit, which is good.
Yes, we do.
And I do have a question. Do we have a certificate of liability on file?
Certificate of liability, I can't answer that. I'll have to find out. My assumption is we do,
Okay, because
but we'll confirm it.
I'd like to make sure that we do get that.
And
We
we have
don't want to leave the town open to any.
No, absolutely. And we've been in touch with our insurance carrier to make sure that everything is properly in order, so we'll make sure.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we get that on file.
You could just name the town as an additional insurance.
Yes.
It shouldn't cost you anything.
That's a good point, because we did do the Lions, we did do the high school. We'll go ahead and make sure the town is.
For the same amount that you have.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So we can start with police. We're looking at about $2,600 on about 42.5 man hours. Any discussion on how you guys want to go about this?
If I may, I
Oh,
just
yeah.
share something.
Mhm.
You know, again, the whole idea here for this year was the opportunity to get this, or I should say, keep this in Waterford. And obviously, there were some challenges with it going back to its initial, or the place that it was located at last year, at the high school and middle school. And when we got approached, we being the Lions Club by the high school, it was an opportunity to talk about how do we utilize this to help promote Waterford. This year is our opportunity to walk, if you will. Next year, we're hoping to be able to do even more. And as you heard the chief say, in the past, this had been a multi-day event. I'm not saying we'd ever get to multi-day, but it does have an opportunity for us to take a look at enhancing it down the road, which then will allow us the opportunity to also plan additionally for the costs associated with it. At this point in time, that was one that when we looked at the information from the village last year, it was pretty clear where all of their expenses were. And that's why when we saw this one lined up, we saw that the village had actually taken care of the costs associated with police support and frankly, also fire support. And so that's why we didn't anticipate that as a part of our numbers this year. Doesn't mean it doesn't make it, makes it right, but that's exactly how it ended up being that way right now. And so we're hoping this year becomes a springboard for a great event for the future, because I think you all saw in your packet, the park has been laid out already, exactly how this is going to be executed. And I will tell you that the park sets up perfectly for it. And everybody that's involved right now is very excited, meaning the vendors, the suppliers, to be able to be out there. So I'll answer any other questions.
I do, and Kenny's not here, but I do have a question for DPW and maybe Jim. The question has come up, Golden Meadows subdivision, may need a lot of no parking signs.
Right.
So is that something that the DPW is gonna do? Is it something that you guys are gonna collect the signs and put them out, or any ideas?
I had the opportunity, certainly all of this we've talked about also with fire and police so far. I had the chance to meet a couple of times with the police, and I also met with the fire department last Friday, Chief Miller and Tyler. And I know when I spoke to Lieutenant, he agreed that we need to coordinate putting the signs out there, because they have to be out not only in that one, but going around the road as well, both sides of it, for no parking. But we all may know that there's no parking permitted in the town. The reality is people are going to be out there parking if there isn't some kind of definition behind it. So I think the answer to the question would be, yes, we have talked about it, and we're going to make sure there's resources to get them out there, whether it's with Kenny or Jim, or whether it's ourselves. Hell, I'll go put them out there. I mean, I'm not going to break a sweat on that one. Sorry, John, I just committed
I don't
you
think
to.
you'll be able to do that right now.
Yeah, right. No, by the time this comes around, I better be able to do it.
Any discussion about the police services first? Any questions from anyone?
Related question, unless you got the ball diamonds for parking, you got the two main parking lots, is there gonna be parking up and down Judson Parkway?
The only,
Site parking?
The answer to the question is there will not be any general parking. What will be out there though is we've established an area, it should be on the map for motorcycle parking, because obviously we can't pull them into the baseball diamonds, they wouldn't be able to stay up. So we've got actual locations where we would earmark for motorcycles, but the rest of the road is going to be maintained strictly for getting cars in and being able to get like emergency vehicles out if we had to.
What are you gonna charge for parking?
$10. I wanted to do 12, but everybody disagreed. They say they'd have to be changing dollars all the time, so we just went to 10.
What's that money going for?
That money will go to offset a lot of the costs associated with it. It's a Lions event right now, along with the high school. But that money will, I mean, we're putting out an awful lot of money right now for the various activities such as let's just call it the facilities. We're talking about the actual rental of equipment. We're talking about the kids zone area and the efforts that are going out there. You're talking about, well, the food trucks, they're all coming in by themselves. They'll operate themselves. So that's not an issue. Then you've got the drone activity. You have the helicopters. And there's going to be a lot of activity out there with people. So we're going to make sure that from a volunteer base, we got it all covered. So expenses are going to go out. There's like to say there's going to be a reasonable profit there, but the answer at this point is probably not this year. We'll see what happens next year.
What's the total number of parking spaces you have?
That's anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200. Again, it all depends on obviously how effective we are at keeping them pulled in. We actually went out and saw a presentation at the high school last Thursday for, I'm hoping this works, for an actual, if you're familiar with the Roomba vacuum cleaners in your house, well, they now have them for GPS coordinates to put buckets of paint on and be able to stripe fields and stripe recreational diamonds and what have you. So we're actually looking at possibly doing that to be able to outline and make it as efficient as possible. And back to, I'm sorry.
It worked real well. How was
I
that?
saw you on the video, by the way. That they sent to me. I saw you on the video. And we're also, you'll see on the map also that we designated the one parking lot will be for purposes of the handicap, VIP parking, and first responders. So for the police, for the fire department, we've actually got sections in that parking lot that'll allow for the opportunity to be easily accessed. And if they needed to, getting out of there quickly as well.
Just a question, are you charging anything for the food trucks, you know, like a booth fee or, you know what I mean? a
Yes.
vendor fee?
I believe it's $200 per truck. We did not go with a share type of situation where they give us $50 and they give us 10% over everything. We just decided to make it clean, easy, and put it in, it's all in writing too, obviously, so they're contracts.
Anybody else with any questions? And as far as fire services, what were you guys looking to have there?
That is still being determined. My meeting with Chief Miller and Tyler the other day, I left them with some questions and some conversation. Frankly, they left me with more questions and conversation. And so we're at this point right now, the chief was going to put some things together. And then he was going to either share it with me or I actually am going to put him also in touch with the balloon operator, just to make sure there's communication there. We're also in touch with the FAA so that we can coordinate the efforts, not only for the balloons, but also for the drones and for the helicopters. And all of that will be a part of the coordination.
Is the fire department gonna have the Survive Alive house there by chance?
I can ask,
I don't think you want to answer that right now.
Okay, I'll leave it, but
I'm only trying to help you because the chief was still working on exactly what they.
So there's discussions ongoing.
Yeah.
And our desire was to make sure that it became not only an opportunity to have support there from first responders, but also an opportunity to promote to the public, both our police department and the fire department. So I'm hoping that we can have some nice presence out there.
Can you remind us of the date again of the Balloon Fest?
July the 15th. Starts it's on a Saturday, starts at 5:30 in the morning with the media launch. That's probably only going to be a couple of balloons. And then we start all the real activities start probably around noontime. That's when we put down for the kids area, for the food trucks, for the drone racing, for the helicopter rides and so on. So the rest of the morning actually will be fairly benign. People even, probably won't even start setting up until almost 10 o'clock.
Any other questions from anyone?
Just had a question online. They want to know if you guys have to contact the health department for
As
food
a-
trucks?
As a
Okay.
matter of fact, absolutely. We have been in touch with Racine County's Health Department. I personally spoke with them, actually. They have forwarded the information off to me that we have to complete, which I'm already in the process of completing. It's not an approval, it's more of a communication. And then we have to also make sure that each of the vendors that comes out will be in a position to supply their updated information. And unfortunately for them, the year that the Racine County runs on is from July until June. So since this event is July 15th, they're all going to be right at the end of this year's permits, if you will. So they've got to get all their paperwork in, and they're suspecting, they being that Racine County is suspecting that there'll probably be a fair amount of inspections, and they may use the Balloon Fest to get 8 or 10 or 12 food trucks out of the way quickly. So we're making sure we communicate that effectively as well.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from anyone in the audience?
I'm gonna turn around.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I'll be back up in a few months because I'm doing WWND.
Oh,
You can sit down in front if you want. Chief Johnson, did you have anything else to report?
So we do that.
Okay, as we'll move to,
We're gonna make a motion to remind these two.
So we're looking at roughly $2,600 then?
I mean, it's a good PR.
Roughly, yes. We don't have solid numbers on number of personnel yet, but I wouldn't suspect it to be a great amount higher than that.
Contact the village to see about
yeah, see if
reciprocating.
they'll donate.
Yes,
Do that first.
I had to see how it went tonight.
So did you want to make a motion, or should we wait until? I know what the village is gonna do.
We almost have to before you go to the village. I would make a motion. It's good PR. I'm hoping in future years that they can maybe foot the bill, but getting it off the ground, I know, last year there wasn't very much profit in it at all. They pretty much just broke even, so. It's something for the community. Get us known.
I'll second that motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
for the use of-
Motion carried. And Matt, if you could talk to the village, that'd be great. Thank you.
Can I just clarify that was a motion to,
Spend up to $2,600.
or please, okay.
And I'll make the motion to approve special request. Allow them to- You want to move that up?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
moved
Yeah.
up, yep.
We got the special events permit, application for temporary class B.
Yeah.
And
Let's just make sure we have permits for everything.
I think this one's just for the.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll need a motion to approve their essentially like town level variance. We don't necessarily need approval on the temporary class B because that's my wheelhouse. But, you know,
Permit, yeah.
yep, we got that, yep. And then
Yeah,
the special
Do you have a
events.
second on that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. All right, thank you. Okay, back to Michigan Fire.
We had 15 EMS calls and 6 fire calls in the month of April.
How many fire calls did you say?
6.
6, okay, thank you.
Our CPR class this month will be May 10th at 10 o'clock a.m. First aid class will be May 10th also, but at 5 o'clock p.m. As far as trainings go, this past weekend, we sent 4 members to the McQueen Emergency Crash Response Training. We have our car seat technician class that's going to be starting up in May that we are hosting at our station. There's also, I think Bill has talked about this, the incident management plan training. It's a joint training with Waterford and Rochester.
Have they set a date for that yet?
Well, so 2 people are going to be trained to train the other people. Does that make sense?
No, yes, I know that well.
And so the expected implementation date is around June.
Okay.
This will have a direct impact on the organizational structure as far as the guidelines and parameters for minor and major incidents that we all play a role in. Let's see. I know it's a little scattered. We got $2,000 from a grant for our utility truck. We're looking at possibly getting a newer truck. We have now 3 drone pilots that are in training. We have a drone that can be used for as far as like finding a lost person, a stuck boat out on the lake, to see if there's still hot spots in the fire, stuff like that. And other departments can call us, or mutual aid type thing if they need our drone. We also had people that went to a Waterford sponsored ladder training last week. We're working on doing more fire trainings with the village fire department. As far as PR goes, we sent people to the boat launch yesterday for the opening day of fishing. I guess they only saw like 5 people real early in the morning, and that was about it. And then picnic in the park, I think, is gonna be our next big one. We also, a big thing here, we had our biannual ambulance inspection. This past month, all 3 of our ambulance passed with no discrepancies. So those are the big things for the month. Question.
You know what your utility truck is? Isn't that like a 96?
It's pretty old, yeah, yeah, so. We put in for a grant hoping for a little more than that.
I was gonna say 2,000,
It-
it's good, but it
Yeah,
won't go
it's-
far.
It's not gonna go very far.
But it's a start.
It's a start, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Waterford Fire? Right here.
All right. They were unable to be here. They had a conflict with another meeting, so I believe it's Assistant Chief Rosina.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sent over. There was 3 calls for Waterford last month.
Thank you. WWMD.
Be there in a minute.
Madam Chair, I'd like to thank you for moving that other one up for me too. It saved me 1 trip up there tonight, so thank you. We are in our full swing right now. Obviously, the weather's breaking. I can tell you that if I take a look right now, all of our activities gets condensed, obviously, into this 2 to 3 month period of time. We had the buoys got placed in the water on April 22nd and 23rd. There's still a couple road ones that need to be put in, but that'll be taken care of. I understand this coming Friday potentially in a conversation with Grant Torn, who's coordinating it. Very pleased to say that we were successful in our bid attempt to get a grant application for the small cutter of $53,666.
Wow.
So that goes to offset some of the costs of that. We're expecting the delivery of our small cutter. Let's hopefully cross our fingers, middle to end of this month. And then as far as the large cutter, we're expecting that probably the end of July, beginning of August. The good thing is when we negotiated the deal with the operators or the manufacturers, we were able to coordinate getting loaner cutters put in so that we can utilize cutters throughout the season, even if we didn't have the ones that they were manufacturing for us. So that was pretty good news for us to have to be able to deal with. We're going to start cutting around the 15th or so of May. We are going to then start the treatments into the navigational lanes the first week of June. We are also this year going to be doing the larger scale treatment of Priscilla-Court in the lake, which will also be done that first week of June. So there's a lot of things that we're starting, obviously, which it's that time of year. Let's see here. We're managing some of the offloading locations. One of them is being over on Riverside, which I know is a part of the town. All we're doing is we talk to both owners on both sides, and all we're doing is putting some traffic bond down, and we're going to just make it a little cleaner and neater to get in and out of. That's on the west side of Conservancy Bay. So that's being done right now. And our dredging project continues to be worked on. I'm not gonna say it's moving forward right now, because we did finally come to a vote the other night that the information we got from the contractors that have put the bids in was not acceptable in regards to moving forward with a project that could ultimately be somewhere between $7 to $8 million. And we are not gonna present something that isn't properly prepared and coordinated to the Riparian community for a vote on it. So at this point, we're continuing the effort to and including the possibility that is, of us looking at maybe buying our own equipment and taking this on ourselves as a part of just like we did with the vegetation management. We're looking at taking this on ourselves potentially, and we've already started to get some pricing in. We've already started to get some information on what's involved. There's many steps yet to go, but let's put it this way, we're not giving up on it. We're continuing the effort to try to make it right out there. It's just turned out to be that long haul, if you will. So that's what we'd like to report tonight, and happy to answer any questions.
Still working to get the DNR permit for that?
We have given the DNR all of the initial information to the engineer. What that resulted in was us getting a letter back with 56 questions, which means that there is still work to be done. And by the way, these are the things we talk about at the meeting too. So we had a good turnout at the last meeting, as you know, Doug.
Yes.
We let everybody know right where it stands. And so there's a lot of questions that still have to be answered. And so therein lies part of the challenge we also had with the contractors and the suppliers we were looking at, because we weren't far enough along, in our opinion, to certainly try to make any recommendations.
Somebody else? Anyone from the audience? Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
And next is Parks and Road, and Kenny is not here. He did come in my office this morning and I kicked him out and I made him go home because he was sick. And then I sprayed Clorox everywhere. He's not here, but we do need, as a board, to set that time for the road tour. We're hoping to do that sometime the week of the 15th, next week. So we need to set that time up with them so we can go take a look at the roads, take a look at the conditions. So let's get that done.
Yeah, just let me know if you're all gonna go together, then that way I can post it as such.
Mhm. Yeah, so does anybody have a date that they want to throw out there?
I can Tuesday. I'm traveling Wednesday, Thursday.
What's that?
I'm traveling next week, Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday?
I'm not, I don't want to.
Okay, so so how about the 15th or 16th? Because you're usually around, right?
I'm only here on that Wednesday, Thursday, but next week.
How about the week after?
Week after, I'm not.
What's that?
Are you busy week after?
Nope.
All right. 22nd? May 22nd?
Monday.
Monday, May 22nd. Tim, is a certain time better for you?
It's Monday.
1 o'clock?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. Monday, May 22nd, 1 o'clock. Okay, next, town planning commission recommendations.
Did you have anything from the park? Did you say anything?
No.
Because you don't have anything either?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. The only other thing as an update, we already approved it, is the generator will be going in Thursday. So the power at the DPW, from what I was told, is going to be cut at 9 a.m. when they install the generator.
No,
Right. Cool. Planning commission recommendations. Start with. And then Riverside, Bader is Bader's here, Riverside Road, adjacent.
Is Attorney Turk here? Oh, gosh. He has a prior commitment. If the board could look at Jensen's and then go back to the piers. So,
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to discuss the Jensen parcel first. I will make a motion to suspend the rules to move up the Jensen parcel.
Second.
first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry about that.
I've enjoyed hearing the town. Be at work.
Okay.
I represent Chuck and Tim Jensen. They own property on Jensen Parkway. Their father, John, passed away. 2 years ago, they started the process of doing a land division to a certified survey map. And I understand the certified survey map has been approved, except there was no sewerage recommendation. So our request at the Plan Commission was to waive the sewerage recommendation. What we've done is offered to put a deed restriction against their parcel. So they're looking to divide their parcel, which is approximately 14 acres, into 4 parcels. They'll have a remaining parcel of about 9 acres, but 3 parcels of just over 1.5 acres that they're looking to sell. Their challenge is that there's no sewer according to their property. They're within the sanitary district, but they're outside the water or Western Racine County sewerage district. So until those 2 entities get their maps aligned, they're kind of stuck in limbo. So hence the deed restriction would be, and I'd work with Attorney Dumas and Dan Dickinson from the sanitary district to get their approval on that. But that would constrain if someone owns that one of those parcels and the sewer line is available. At that point, the owner would have 6 months, as it is in the sanitary district ordinances, to connect to the sewer and pay the connection fees.
When you say the sewer is available, the owners are gonna have to run the sewer down Johnson Parkway.
Yeah.
So it's not so much being available. I think our town engineer's letter had recommended that it has to be sewered.
Yeah, Mr. Dickinson was here last meeting. He couldn't make it tonight, but he did describe the situation with the sanitary district that it is within Waterford Sanitary District, but not Western Racine. Once and if those borders do get changed, then we are looking at, then they would have a mandatory connection at that point.
Right. So I think our challenge is we don't know when that's going to happen.
Right. Or if.
Yeah.
It'd be more than a mandatory connection. It would be a mandatory installation of that sewer down the entire length of Jensen Parkway.
Correct. And that would be in the deed restriction.
Yeah. And will that include the 4th remnant parcel as well?
I think it should, yes.
Okay. And the owners are in agreement to voluntarily deed restrict that 4th parcel to no further division?
Not to no further deed, they're agreeing to do a deed restriction on the remnant parcel. I believe your ordinance say after 5 years, they could go through another land division of that parcel using a certified survey map. But they'd have to wait at least 5 years, or they'd have to use a subdivision plat, which they're not planning to do.
Right, so this is no way to avoid a subdivision plat by they've got to wait 5 years. But they want to run the sewer to that 4th remnant parcel.
They may have to.
Yeah.
They have a choice.
Well,
If it becomes available.
Right.
Correct.
well, if the boundary lines get adjusted, then they'll be forced to. So when we say it becomes available, it kind of implies that somebody else is going to put it in. But again, those 4 owners would have to foot the bill for that.
And that wasn't my intent to make it.
Right, and right now too, it's if the boundary lines are changed and there's a flow study that's happening right now too, so they're measuring capacity as well. So we would have to have the boundary lines changed and we would have to have the capacity. So there's a lot of ifs right now. But they're willing to put the deed restriction in place.
They are. And I would draft that for Attorney Dumas's approval along with Dan Dickinson to make sure that we're all aligned on that.
I'd like to have our town engineer's approval on this too, because I just think to remember his letter that he said it would violate municipal ordinances and the Clean Water Act to have a private septic system put in within our district boundaries. So.
That's an important point. So is that property in the district bound? Forget about the sewer bank, okay?
Yeah.
Is it within the district boundaries?
That's my understanding. It's within the sanitary district.
Is it within the sanitary service area?
It's in the Waterford Sanitary
Yes.
Service area, but not the Western Racine
Correct.
service area.
That's our
Oh,
disconnect.
just we get a confirmation on that.
We do know that. yeah.
Okay.
And
All right,
Waterford
so your
Sanitary,
point, well, you know, he's making a different point now.
Yeah, I understand.
and there's been at least 2 meetings already at Western Racine County with 2 sewer pack representatives, Western Racine County and our Waterford Sanitary District #1. So this process is moving along. So I can't say it's when it's gonna be completed, but it's in the process, so.
And I believe the Jensens would be happy if the process got completed, because then they could know with
I think a
certainty
lot of
right
it
at
has to
that
do with
point.
the
they would-
flow study. too.
Yes, yeah, that's a big thing that's hanging there right now is the flow study to see if there's even the capacity to handle it. So we're in the midst of that right now.
And a rough figure was thrown out of $250,000 to make that sewer, to make that sewer line down the entire length. It could be more or less than that, but it'd be a considerable cost to those 3 property owners. Or 4 property owners.
Or do we have a motion on the Jensen? Do we have any more questions first?
I'll make a motion, go along with the recommendations from the planning board to allow private septic systems contingent upon each of the lots filing an agreement with Racine County Register of Deeds indicating that they will be required to hook up to municipal sewer at the property owner's expense within 6 months of it becoming available.
Within 6 months of the property, the boundary lines being adjusted.
Within 6 months of sanitary sewer being available.
Well, the critical issue is that the 2 boundary lines don't match, so I think it should be at the point where this committee that's working on adjusting the boundary lines decides that both of this property is within Western Racine County boundaries as well. Would be triggered within 6 months after that.
Right,
Yes,
you
yes.
need both. You need the
Because
That's what Dan was gonna say. Basically, I'd like to add contingent upon the attorney and sanitary district approval and our engineer's approval.
right, because, yeah.
Hmm.
The engineer has recommended against that in the past.
Do you have that motion, Tina?
Yep,
Do you want to say that again?
No.
no, I have it. He's reading the minutes from, yeah.
And does that include the 4th remnant parcel being deed restricted against?
Yes.
further redivision? Okay, thank you.
So we have that motion, we have a second?
Second.
Can I get just that point of clarity?
Yeah. Did you agree to that?
No, I think against,
You can't vote, you can't impose a deed restriction.
I said voluntarily.
Well, he's not agreeing to that right now.
no, you said further redivision, right? As opposed to-
Voluntary deed restrict against further redivision of the remnant parcel, correct?
No, we're not agreeing to that, because that's, we're looking to, potentially they could subdivide that property
After
After 5
5
years.
years, correct,
Oh,
under the town
but if our
ordinance.
ordinance says it's deed restricted for 5 years, then in 5 years you can come back and have that changed. Because now it sounds like they really do want to sell
So, you
it.
know, just. I'm not saying you're incorrect Dale, at all. Okay? I'm saying this wasn't brought up at the planning commission, and the first motion was to adopt the planning commission's recommendation. Now, you don't have to go along with it, and I don't know if he's prepared, I don't know if he's even talked to his clients about this yet.
Correct.
'Cause this was not.
That wasn't brought up at the planning board at all.
But
No,
we just
it-
want to be more
No,
specific and
no,
say.
Well,
after
actually,
5 years.
Just for clarity too, my client understands that remnant parcel cannot be redivided by certified survey map for a period of 5 years after
Right.
approval of this one. That's in the town ordinance.
We can,
Oh, the state statutes too.
Yeah, it's chapter 236. of the
well, that's
statutes.
in the minutes recommended, having the 4th parcel deed restricted as well to avoid subdivision plat. So if we're accepting the planning commission's recommendation, then that's in there.
I thought though that was just, the deed restriction was just for the sewer.
Right, I know they didn't agree to that yet.
Yeah,
I know that.
I think it
I'm
might,
just telling you, I mean, either that or put it off, I mean, this isn't time sensitive, I don't think.
no, other than it's been going on for a while.
But I'm just saying, we're in sort of a, you know, deed restriction has to be voluntary, you know.
Oh, I understand. That's why I believe that's why the way it worked.
I understood at the planning commission, it was deed restricted as to when the sanitary sewer was available.
That's what I
That
read when I
remnant
was at it,
parcel,
yes.
correct.
that would be the requirement.
Yes.
for them
See, basically, I'm hearing what Dale's saying, okay? The way I see it is you're gonna pay $250,000, at least the way I understand it.
That was a figure that was thrown out.
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Plus whatever engineering costs and whatever there is, it's an expensive proposition. Plus the land's low to begin with over there. Or where?
Okay, so we have a motion.
We have a
Give me
second.
a second. No?
I second it.
Yeah, you second.
Yes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your patience with this whole thing.
Oh, my pleasure.
Back to Piers.
Yeah, appears. So on Rizka, East Peninsula Drive. Anybody here for that?
Well, planning already approved these, so.
So the planning commission has a final say on Piers.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. That was a right now.
Ventures.
Mhm.
Yep, that's it. Okay. Okay, we are at old business, appointment of officials. Okay, so on the list of appointment of officials, I motion to appoint the following to one-year terms. Town engineer, Ford Associates, town surveyor, Gary Folk, weed commissioner, Ken Hintz, town assessor, Kathy Romanek, per contract. I motion to appoint the following to three-year terms. We do each one separate. Or can I just do them all?
No, you can do them all together.
Three-year terms. Planning Commission, Max Wank. Planning Commissioner, Risa Nelson. Planning Commission, that is taking our dear friend Dwayne Lewick's seat. We would like to appoint Tom Roskowski. I motion to appoint the following to the remaining term of the one-year term Planning Commission that expires on May 2024. Planning Commissioner is taking Roy's seat, who retired, Dave Wagner. And the following is extended 1 year from the present expiration date. Town Clerk Tina Mayer. Any objections? Town Treasurer Heather Stratton. Dubalt's Law Office with outside counsel to be approved by Town Board.
I think it's town attorney, because it's municipal court. that's
Town
right.
Attorney. And the following is extended 1 year from the present expiration date, LNM inspections. And the following board liaisons. Planning Commission liaison, Supervisor Gerke. Police Department and Court liaison, Supervisor Ulinder. Michigan Fire liaison, Supervisor Schwartz. Public Works liaison, Supervisor Gerke. Administrative liaison, me. And inspections report and shoreline contract inspections report, Supervisor Zelinski. And on finance, since it is just the treasurer's report, it's basically Heather, the treasurer, and the board will approve. So those are the appointments for planning. So congratulations to Tom. Am I saying that right? I just want to make sure I'm saying that. Roskowski? Thank you. And Mr. Wagner? You here?
You look-
I thank you. Yeah. New business.
You have to okay those?
I'm sorry.
I just, do we have to okay them, or it's just a?
You really should have a, okay on it.
Yeah.
She's the only one that can make the appointment. The chairman's the only one, but the board should approve it.
Oh,
Yes, we've always done it that way.
okay. Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Discussion and possible action regarding land disturbance permit infractions. Kristen, 29405 Rob Drive. Please state your name and address, please, for the record.
John Chrisman, 29405 Rabbit Drive, Waterford.
Okay, so you know that there's been some land disturbance and is work being done?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm happy to
Truth
report asphalt contractors at Union Grove came out last week.
cut up the street and was supposed to lay the asphalt Friday, but they didn't return.
Yeah, it's still cut out. I was out there on Saturday.
So I haven't heard from them why they didn't come back, but I'm assuming.
Here's our signed contract, so you can have this. I also took pictures of everything that we
Oh, great.
have gotten done. So this is the other culvert we're putting in, you can see it laying there. That's where they cut out the asphalt, and that's the other end of the culvert, you can see the flanges are on. This is the opposite side of the culvert that has the ditch check with it. And this is the flange to the back of our pickup truck. He's waiting to do the last culvert after they complete the road, so he doesn't catch a lip or something when he's on the culvert.
Well, their dump truck broke down Thursday and they have no way to get rid of the blacktop, so I let them dump it in the driveway. And they assured me when they came back to pave the street, they would remove the blacktop because I'm not allowed to bury it anywhere on site.
Okay.
I was gonna ask that question. I did see it. It's just
Yeah.
inside the driveway there to the right.
Yeah, and I don't
So
want to
we're
put that
just-
culvert in until after the dump truck's been in and out.
Sure.
Is that the culvert sitting on the side of it there?
Culvert's
Yeah,
sitting
I
there,
took a-
the
I
skirts
showed
are
her
in
the
my truck.
picture. You guys will all want to see it? Okay, so that's the extra flange. That's the completed culvert there with the ditch check. That's where you can see that they cut out the road. That's the completed culvert. And I thought this is the one, that's the new culvert we're gonna put
Yeah,
in.
that's what I saw.
Would you like to see it also? Would you like- Okay, this is the new culvert we're gonna put in. So that's the new flange that's in the back of this pickup truck right now.
What's the flash for?
The ends of the
Oh,
culvert.
the culvert end.
Yeah. That is an installed one with the ditch check. That's where they cut the road out. And that's the other end of the culvert.
And has the
And this
DPW
is
been
the
out there to
good-
check and see
We,
that?
we
I went to
contacted,
Ken twice on the phone and once in person. He told me how far off the road
Mhm.
and how to install it and how to put that check
Yeah,
in.
he did talk.
He knows all about it.
We do have Cook Board here. We do have the engineer here too.
Oh, yeah, the engineer, yes. Yeah, we have to.
How much have you filled? Because it looked pretty high when I walked in there.
Pardon?
How much have you filled in
we're
elevation?
done, Phil.
Well, yeah, we're all done. Somebody in the family went out and bought a house out by Waterford, and we're not gonna live there now.
Whitewater.
She bought a house on the lake and I'm moving. I was gonna build a house here on Graham Drive, and now I'm moving.
So, so,
Jacob Breckler from the county, it said you exceeded the amount of fill that you were supposed to allow to put in, so.
yeah, but it said on there after they looked on the GPS or the satellite or
was fine.
whatever, and they said
That
it
was
was
less than an
fine.
acre.
Yeah, less than an acre, so.
But when I walked out there, I mean, the fill, I mean, it was pretty high. That's why I said how much for elevation. That was more than a few feet higher than.
Well, in the process of doing this, they went, also the DNR came in and raised the floodplain to a 200-year flood. It's not 100 years anymore. So we had to raise it another 2.5 feet to satisfy the basement floor to be above floodplain. So you don't have to buy flood insurance.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
How low was it to start with into the floodplain?
well,
Because I'm looking at, but
seven,
my eyes aren't that good to read that.
779.1 or is it 776.1
That's where we went to.
is the floodplain. It's the same as the edge of the road.
Hmm.
So
But the people buying it, they're gonna have their own, they'll be coming to. you for
I was gonna
whole
put a
different
full
plan.
basement in with a walkout to the south and the east.
Okay.
That's what we.
We
gotta
have
do.
some new owners looking at it, and they're not gonna put a basement in at all, so they're knocking that halfway back down, they're gonna move.
Okay, they're gonna move that pile out to the
They're gonna
edges
lower
of
it.
the silt fence.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So, but that'll be up to them to go to you to get all that approval or whatever. So,
and I'm done keeping out there to look at, we would need to have the engineer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
sir.
I'll
Please.
refrain to him, like I
Yes.
said,
Because
I
we
walked
wanna
there
make
at
sure
first,
about the
I looked
bonds.
from the road, I said, it's not bad. When I walked
Yeah.
up, I was like, whoa.
Sir, could you come forward?
Yeah, Greg Governor, with Good Forward, the town engineers. Just one question. Yeah, there was really no issue with the floodplain or the fill. I understand you're trying to get your basement up above that floodplain,
Right.
which is good.
Right.
Do you have any plans to put grass seed on or grass capacity to stabilize that side? Sounds like you're under an acre, which is great.
Well, it said somewhere in there, you didn't have to do the grass seed until the final grade was established.
Right.
So you had to pour the basement, figure out where that was. Well, we never got that far.
So are you actively working the site though?
Yes.
The way the code works is if you have 14 days of things just sitting there, basically like if you're gonna sell it or walk away from it, we need to have grass.
Well, I'm in there right now with the backhoe. The whole west side, I had a little bit of a ditch in there between the fill that I brought in and the black dirt.
Mhm.
Well, it eroded down to the point where it was starting to go over the black dirt to the silt fence. I'm back in there now, putting a new ditch in all the way down the west edge. And I'm leaving a little bit of a berm on top, so the water can't run off the surface down. Right there. And the silt fence is 8 feet away from the property line. I left a buffer zone in there. So if the fence broke down or,
So
I have a severe problem with deer running the silt fence down. I'm out there every week putting it back up. So
you're trying to transfer the property now? Is it for
Yeah,
sale?
It's
we've gotten accepted off.
We were out there, I seen that, you got asphalt contractors, that's great.
Yeah.
The road fixed and the culverts are in, so we're pretty good other than really just
Yeah,
making sure that something's happening out there
Yeah.
or that the owners
it is,
keep moving.
yeah.
Do you feel we need a bond?
I don't, I mean, if they fix the road and they're working on the project, we don't need a bond.
Is there gonna be a swale between your property and the house next door?
no,
We brought him with,
we brought our neighbor from the west.
he's concerned about the swale.
The water coming down the ditch, first off, Kevin's driveway doesn't have a culvert in it at all.
Okay.
So the only water coming from the west is the 250 feet of his frontage. 100 feet before it even gets to our property, there's no back to the ditch. It runs through his front yard, through his wetland, well, I don't think it's wetland, the tall grass that we don't use. And then it used to run across part of our property and go to the back. Well, now that the pile's there,
Yeah.
or if it runs down the edge, but it's making it all the way to the back. I don't see any reason to make a waterway because there just isn't that much water involved.
Okay.
Sir, did you want to come up and say anything?
Come on.
Kevin's lived there his whole life, and we just went up on top of the pile and we were looking at it. And he can tell you that it hasn't changed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I haven't noticed any change at all
Okay.
in any of the water acquiring there. The house was built on a low spot there too, so we've always had water in there. But,
How long have you lived there?
well, my parents lived there before I did, so we've been there about 10 years, I think it is. We've always had water up there. It always comes and goes. But I have not noticed a change. So from them working over there or even all that big berm and everything, stay pretty much the same, so. Oh, absolutely the same. I've not had any water issues, so.
Any concerns from the engineer?
Well, I was just getting back to your bond question. Yeah, the road and culverts are in, that's great. It's really the stabilization of that site to get grass growing on it. And the only thing I worry about is if they sell the land and the new owner comes in and doesn't do anything with it. And you get a temporary seat put down on there. That would be the only issue I see.
I was gonna say, reading the ordinances and that, yeah, you have like 14 days.
Yeah, if nothing's happening, so, you know, the pile of dirt, normally you want to get the topsoil spread out and some sort of temporary cover on there.
Well, I'm moving quite a bit of fill right now. I've been out there all last week. In the front where I removed the black dirt, you see piles between the driveway and there's a pool of water there that's only 2 or 3 inches deep. That's where the black dirt has been removed. And I'm actively pushing down their grading, which will create a ditch along Ram Drive and make things better. Anything that can get it at least that far will now make it further east of where the canal is. So
You had us put a 15-inch culvert in and,
That's
See,
minimum for the code.
yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, you go down the road, there aren't any other.
Right,
culverts.
right. I know
There's
it's pretty
none.
common, right?
There's no culverts,
Then we have
so
to try to just-
we're going, you know,
Did you say you had an owner already looking to buy it?
we already accepted an
Oh,
offer,
so it's
by
moving. He's gonna
the
get
somewhere
ready.
in June. they're gonna take over.
June, middle of June, so.
So I would think that they already told us that they're coming down, like half the mountain's coming down.
Okay.
So the first thing they're gonna do is pull some more black dirt back, flatten this out and whatever. I have no idea if they're gonna build one big pole barn or no pole barn. I don't know.
So they don't look at doing a basement then?
Nope.
No.
They told us they weren't doing the basement. So I would think.
And
they're
we
gonna
didn't cover with the black dirt because they're just gonna uncover.
Uncover it, right? It doesn't make sense, no, it's just
Yeah.
that, we don't wanna make
It's
sure
just
there's
more
a
cost
lapse
to the other
between you guys selling it and nothing happening.
Yeah.
And the fill we brought in from Junk Trucking is almost all road gravel. There is no real dirt. So we haven't had a problem with any weeds growing. You know, it doesn't really look unkempt. My only concern was with the runoff. And that's what I'm taking care of right now with the backhoe. So if for some reason it rains the next month and they can't work, that erosion shouldn't make it to the silt fence here. And our trailers are out, that great big storage trailer we had is already off the property too.
And they'll be taking the blacktop off then probably this week.
Yeah,
You know,
they better be. I want them to do the road. I'm more worried about the road than that blacktop.
Well, both actually.
Well, I know, but I'm just, they could get hurt on the road.
And no more trucking, because we don't.
No, we're done with,
No,
we're
it's
done
all
with the
done.
trucking. That's all done. That's all done.
We haven't heard back from asphalt contractors.
No,
They're
they,
not answering your calls.
no, but I will call them tomorrow. I'll call them. I didn't call them today because it's raining. I figured that's why they didn't come out. But I will call tomorrow morning.
To be clear for the record, any bond recommendations from engineer at all?
Yeah, I would say no. I mean, you guys have heard it as long. Again, there's that lapse between when they sell it to the new owner, then we gotta make sure things continue to happen. You know, typically we have a bond prior to occupancy. I just worry that someone would buy it and not do anything with it. We would want to get grass.
They sounded like they were gonna go right into it.
Thank you. Attorney Dukes, do you have anything?
They're obligated, of course, to let the new buyer know what about this condition. You have to.
They know all that.
Well, I'm just letting you know you have to.
Yeah.
I'd recommend that the board retain some jurisdiction here, subject to the engineer's approval and subject to the board's approval. And we don't know, we obviously don't know everything that's going on here. I know everything's fine so far, right? So it probably may well be that, but I'm concerned that you haven't called back by the asphalt contractor. You haven't turned the call. I mean, that's
I didn't
just a
call
little-
them.
I thought you said. you did.
No, I didn't call them. I said, I called them today because it's raining. I will call them tomorrow morning.
Okay, they're a good outfit.
Well, that, we had talked to, who did you talk to? They
Ken.
said, Ken, they said he's very familiar with them.
Well, I'm just saying that,
Yeah.
you know, this is not a minor
Right,
event,
right.
okay?
I'll get
And
on them first.
I think the engineer needs to be involved in that. And I really, you can say what you want, if I think the board should look at it again too. One more time. Because you're not closing anyhow, right now. Well, how do you feel comfortable without having no closing done yet? I mean, not having this done before. closing?
No, I would like to see it. And I'm worried about their lapse. I
You
mean, I know they're
worry
working
about
on
having it
it,
completed before they close, right? Okay.
making sure that the work is done before you sell it and put it on.
Yeah.
Because if it's
I
not
don't
done,
have real
he says,
well, so.
he says, I wasn't gonna do that. They didn't tell me, and then we.
What?
So what do you want us to do now?
I'll call,
Besides-
I'll call
I'll
asphalt
asphalt
contractors
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Okay.
And whatever I find out, I'll go to Ken at Public Works and tell him what the time frame is. Okay,
The engineer.
because I'm waiting for the blacktop.
It's logical. You want
Yeah,
us
I
to
mean,
call you
so you got asphalt contractors scheduled on their contract, the culverts are in, we're out here. I'm like, yeah, you can let us know, call us. And then really it's just getting whatever grading work you're doing done. And I would love it if you threw some sort of temporary seed out there before.
Okay. Okay.
And if they're in working, then we're good, but they gotta go through the building permit process, the approval process.
Okay, all right. All right, so basically.
Yeah, you can get just temporary, like, no covers, it doesn't mean anything real much.
And then I just gotta tell Ken what asphalt contractors has got going.
And the engineer too, yeah, I would say table it to next month, but they need to have communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, depending when they're closing this.
Paperwork.
And I would do like a fuel cover, because they're just gonna come in.
Are you going there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg can reach out to the board.
I made a motion to table it.
Okay.
And then to contact our engineer as they progress.
Thank you.
to get this.
Alrighty.
So we're making a motion to table it, so we have all this.
Until they kind of do what's.
You're back, yeah.
I said table it and contact you to.
Yeah.
Is that yours? Yeah.
A second on that motion.
Next month.
Any discussion anymore?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Okay, so keep in touch. Thank you.
Yes.
Next item, discussion possible action on burning ordinance. We did have, I mean, I've got a few people contact me with, complaints and questions about the burning ordinance, and Tina had, looked up surrounding municipalities, and we're pretty much in line with surrounding municipalities on our burning ordinance. Our ordinance has open burning shall only be conducted Monday through Sunday between the hours of 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., which is pretty much in line with the Village of Rochester, Waterford, Union Grove, Burlington, Dover, and Norway. Any discussion on that?
No, my main concern was that I think the maximum size is 4x4 burning, which hardly is suitable for, burning brush. No open burn shall exceed 4 feet square and 4 feet in height. So if a farmer is gonna clean a line fence, or somebody's gonna burn all the brush that they cut down in their property instead of taking it to the town dump on a Saturday, 4 feet square isn't even a campfire. I mean, we have to increase the size. And we've had at least one situation where somebody was, police were called, no, I don't want to say any names, no, it's not that particular.
Okay.
But there was another situation where somebody's, it's bigger than 4x4 feet. Well, I can't imagine burning brush. You can't cut it that small. So I would suggest we change that to 8 or 10 or 12 feet. I don't know if you want to do any exception for farmers, burning a line fence.
You can put that in there. It's always been understood that the farmers were exempt from it anyway. I mean, they do their controlled burns all the time and nobody enforces anything. So, I mean, you can put it in the ordinance, but yeah, it's been like this since 2005.
I would suggest those two changes, make an exemption for A1 property, not necessarily A2, but A1 farmland. And increase the size of an open burn for burning of brush from, what does anybody thinks a reasonable size? 10, 12, 16 feet?
Does Tisha get fire have anything to add? Any opinion?
To get their opinion from the chief.
I mean, it would be nice to get an opinion from the chief,
I was
but.
gonna say,
Well,
maybe
yeah,
you
because
could
this
table it
ordinance
till
was
next month
actually
so we can-
drafted by him.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so,
Sure.
yeah.
Cool. I don't know.
So he's the one that put the 4 foot in, or 4, because it was, the fire department said, but that's how this came about. This was
Yeah.
not, this was Tishigan that we'd come together and have a, so they must have got that 4 foot from somewhere.
Yeah.
I know
Some 83s
Oh, so
are
when was-
big
when was
parcel
this?
too.
it would have been when Dave was on the board,
That's a holding district. There's
but Bill was still
bunch of
there.
farmers
It was
who
like
these are
2005, I think.
Kind of accepted just for
A1,
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, so now it's.
A1, A3 zoning?
I mean, you have some A3s in there that are 40 acres.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Say,
Yes.
we don't have zoning maps in our cars, so I don't know what A1 and A2 is. So keep that in mind.
Bayside is A2.
Yeah, but you get my point. We don't,
Yeah.
so keep that in mind when you're listing.
We'll just
it
get
as
you
A.
zoning maps for the squad.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Also that, are you just gonna have a separate section? Section A is for residential, section B is for agricultural.
Well, section
So-
7 here is open burning of leaf, brush, clean wood, and other vegetative debris. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to review this tonight because I just got seated here.
Nor did I.
But
Because it's on our
for
website.
section 8 is campfires. and bonfires.
We waste so much paper here. Uh-huh.
Here, like 8.5 says no outdoor campfire bonfires should exceed 3 feet in diameter. Well, that's pretty small even for a bonfire. You know, roast marshmallows and cookies. And most people probably have a bigger.
This should be tabled and
I
discussed.
think table and also get input from the fire department.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Also move. Can
Second?
you have, Bill give me a call on it
We have
or
second?
email me, whatever.
Second.
Yes, motion in a second, all in favor,
All right.
opposed? Okay. Okay, we took care of the Lions. So that brings us to, from now on, and starting today, actually, we do have someone for today. We do have the public comments.
May I interrupt? I had one other old or new business item. A few months ago, we passed our Airbnb short-term registration ordinance. Tina, has anybody come into license?
No, but
Airbnb?
I've actually told them, I know Grant Horn had come in, he had asked about it, and at that time, I was not, or I'm not, with just me and Heather, we had the election going on,
Right.
so, nope, not yet, but we will.
Put something on the website to get.
It is on the website, yep,
To get everybody licensed.
yeah.
To avoid a higher license.
Yeah, I didn't think we would do the higher license fee this time. Again, with the just me and Heather in there, it's kind of,
And I, you know, some people may not go on the website. I wonder if we can have Kathy send them a letter.
Kathy
to
Romanek.
Yeah, to the knowns.
It won't, she won't, yeah, that would be in her wheelhouse. Again, that would come down on me and Heather. I mean, we can, but like, it's not that for lack of them asking, because, you know, Grant had, it was a matter of at that time, it was election time, it was during absentee voting. And I told them to wait.
July?
It's gonna start whenever I get it started.
July 1st.
It's
June
so
30th.
sad.
That's what I thought. I think they're supposed to register like 45 days
Yeah.
ahead of time, something like that.
It's, that will definitely not happen. I had to take an administrative approach on it. And we couldn't just dump everything for that. So we'll have to be a little leeway this year
Yeah.
with,
It's been a lot for them.
yep,
We'll, make sure that people comply.
right.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So we will have public comments. You will fill out a form.
Yep.
And we'll call you up. You'll have 3 minutes. I'm not gonna really name you. You'll have 3 minutes to state whatever you'd like to talk about, any issues, concerns, and if it's something that we feel that, you know, needs to be handled and put on the agenda, we can look at putting it on a future agenda. I also just want to say rather quickly, just another avenue, because I do have people coming in a lot. I think I mean at the second Wednesday of every
Yes.
month.
I have it on the
I will be available in the town office from 12:30 to 2. If anyone needs to come in and ask questions and talk about anything. And again, it might be something that maybe put on a future agenda. So we just want to give people every avenue they can have to communicate with us. So I think we did have someone on.
No, that was Mr. Chrisman.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay,
He didn't have to even do it, but he
okay.
did.
All right.
That was it.
Forthcoming events. I always look at Tim.
Lions picking parks June 11th.
June 11th.
Road Fest, 15th, and the car show is the 27th. A few big things coming up next month.
Mhm.
Car show, what? August 27th. Yep, that's it.
So anybody else?
Tanya, you guys have anything going on for the village coming up?
Is that what the village?
Well, I know, but you still post stuff, so that's why. No. Just trying to keep it all open.
All right, thank you. I have a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, we adjourn at 6:50.